And welcome into your local election headquarters at KRK4 and Fox 16. I am Mitch McCoy. It is 11:30 here in Little Rock, and early voting is underway across the capital city. We want to get straight to Jay Burr. He is standing by in Little Rock right now. Jay, good morning to you. The lines are long.
Hey, Mitch, we've actually switched locations, just to clarify here. We're actually in North Little Rock, right
Okay.
outside the Lehman Library. But I actually drove past the Lehman Library this morning on my way to the station, and the line, it was crazy. It was wrapped around here. Let me actually kind of flip things around here for you to see if you can really get the scope of things here. Yeah, so that was what we're looking at currently. And that's kind of still where we are at now. A lot of people were saying that uh, they were been waiting here for upwards of 3.5 hours. In fact, we actually talked to one woman who, when we pulled up, she was actually the very last person in the line at the time. And I asked her, you know, you see the line, you've still got 2 weeks to early vote. Why the sense of urgency now when you see that, especially in today's society, just the way it is? People are, they don't have that kind of patience. Like I was telling some of these people, you can get on Space Mountain before you can get in here to vote. But she said, this election's important. She said, I feel like a lot of people would maybe think the same thing, like, oh, I'll just put it off until later, and then maybe you just don't get around to it. Things pop up, things happen. You're going to see long lines probably again. So she just said, hey, you know what? I'm off work today. I'm going to stick it out. I want my voice to be heard. And we talked to several other people too, just saying like that's the big thing. This is a big election, and not just the presidential part of it. A lot of people were saying, state representatives, and they mentioned the three ballot initiatives that are on. First, Joe Biden. For a lot of people in this election, people are aware of some of the other things that are going on. Even she said, she's like, I don't care what anybody else's political views are out here. I'm encouraged to see people out here like this voting, and there's just this enthusiasm, there's this excitement for just going out and making your voice heard for whatever issue it is that you feel dear. Now I will say here that part of the reason that the line is so long here at the Lehman Library is because of just the check-in system. And to me, it feels like, we haven't talked to anybody officially, but just from what we've been able to gather, is they just weren't ready for this kind of onslaught. There's only 2 iPads. This is actually an all digital check-in, but they've only got 2 of those iPads going, despite the fact that they have 15 voting stations here. So, some of the officials here, I've gotten in contact with some of the election officials. So hopefully by tomorrow, they'll kind of work out some of those kinks, have a little more technology so people aren't out here for 3.5 hours. Despite the fact that that's encouraging for a lot of people, and it's kind of beautiful in a way. Nobody wants to really spend their whole morning or their day just standing in line for a ride that's not really going to be that thrilling, if you know what I mean.
So we know that these long lines are forming across the area. What is it like at other voting locations across the metro, Jay?
Anecdotally, we've seen similar. Now, not quite 3.5 hours. I actually live out in Sherwood, and it's a church right there on Keel Avenue. The name escapes me right now, but I mean, they had people out the door there. Now, granted, some of the COVID protocols are going to make this process a little longer. They're just allowing certain numbers of people at a time. So, officials have said, hey, just be patient with us because we're still kind of working through this. You can prep and have all the things in writing that you want. But when it actually comes to game time, you got to be able to execute that plan. There's always going to be hiccups in the line. But even out in West Little Rock at the Roosevelt Library, just more of the same. I mean, really, it's just everywhere. We've heard in Saline County and Lono County, it just tons of people out here excited to vote, and they're getting it out of the way immediately because and some of the people that we've talked to out here, just as we were walking through the line, it even said, I don't want our vote to look like the election was rigged. Now they're talking about the presidential election. Towards the end of it, it's like, okay, it's in now, it's in early, it's been counted or will be counted, it's under lock and key already. So that's a real big reason for a lot of folks sticking it out here early on, and obviously, we've seen some characters out here as well. Even a little girl here who looks about 8 years old. So, you know, this right here is not unique to what we've seen and heard in some other locations here in the central part of the state.
Jay, do you think some of these lines are longer than past years just because of social distancing?
Absolutely, and a lot of people even mention that, you know, just with the protocols that are in place and everything. And again, like I said just a minute ago, just with polling places not allowing people in abundance, they're not having people wait on the inside. Because you know, I remember voting in the last presidential election. It was a little bit of a line, but then you kind of you had the line, and then you got inside, and then you had sort of some seating areas where you could sit, and you kind of just moved down the line like that as well. So, you know, I don't think a whole lot has changed in that regard in terms of just people coming out. But I think things, kind of like you mentioned, things look worse maybe than what they are because, you know, you can kind of see some folks down there. I can't zoom in on it, but, you know, they're spaced out. You know, people got their masks on out here for the most part, and they're just limiting people getting in. So, you know, it might be one of those things where looks can be deceiving, but nonetheless, some people have been out here about 3 hours. So, again, uh, it may not be as bad as what it looks, but still kind of got a good weight going on out here.
It looks like a wait. Jay, anything else that people need? And I know you got to get ready for the noon show here. Anything else people need to know before they walk out and possibly early vote today? What would be your advice?
Just have everything with you. You know, have your photo IDs and all that stuff ready. Just you know, get ready to make some friends. You know, don't be a stranger out here. You know, everybody's kind of in this together. You know, so a lot of the people out here, you know, you kind of just look through the line. You see a lot of different colors, creeds, age groups, all that kind of good stuff. Just be prepared to hang out for a while, and you know, don't be a stranger is the best advice I could give you.
Well, Jay Burr, political anchor here at KRK4, Fox 16, in the lines this morning as lines form across the metro. Jay, we'll let you go. I know you got to get ready for noon. I appreciate you, sir.
Sure thing, anytime, brother.
All right, Jay Burr live for us here as we talk about early voting. Okay, so the video you've been seeing throughout this live stream so far is running on the side of your screen now. And this is the video that our crews captured this morning. This was out in Little Rock, and it was the long line. These are the pictures and the video that we have been seeing, quite frankly, all morning long. Speaking of which, I was just talking with a friend of mine who was driving down Broadway just a moment ago, and he said that he saw a long line at Markham and Broadway. I was talking to someone else earlier this morning, someone saying they had there was a long line at the voting location in Conway. This is the pictures forming across central Arkansas today as early voting gets underway. We are monitoring your Facebook comments as we know that there's a lot of people with a lot of different questions here. Somebody, Russ, asking, is Arkansas allowed to count votes prior to November 3rd? That is a no. We are told by the Pulaski County Election Commission that they will be counting votes beginning at 8:30 a.m. on election morning. So that would be November 3rd. So that was certainly one of the questions that came in. Somebody's asking, where could they vote in Maumelle? That is a great question, and we're going to get to how you can find that answer coming up in just a moment. But I want to go back to that conversation that we were having just a moment ago when we were talking about the early voting location at Markham and Broadway and Little Rock. I can only assume it's now 11:46 and we are entering the lunch hour here. This is what the early voting location looks like at Markham and Broadway. You see the street sign there at Arch. It is now, I'm being told, within the last few minutes, that line is wrapped completely around the building. So that is something that we are looking at, and that is something that we're likely to see here at least most of the day, possibly now for you know, maybe the next week or two, just depending on how long this lasts. Quite honestly, you know, we don't know if this is going to steer people away from the polls, and maybe somebody's going to watch this and say, hey, I'm just going to try and swing by here on my way home from work. And if that's the case, you can only assume that they might see that long line again, and then they're like, okay, no, I'll try tomorrow, and they might push it all the way up to election day. We don't know the ripple effects that these long lines will have, but it's also important to note that the lines might look longer than what they really are because everyone is practicing social distancing. You see it in the photo right here. You see the space in between all of these voters, and you can tell that there's social distancing that's being practiced. Queen jumping in on Facebook right now. Queen saying long lines in Sherwood, at Kiel and Jacksonville, reported 2.5 hours in Jacksonville. Yes, you're absolutely right, Queen. We're hearing about, and we've seen photos on social media of long lines at the Jacksonville Community Center at this hour because of early voting. We're also seeing long lines in North Little Rock. Micah asking right now about North Little Rock. Our political anchor, Jay Burr, was just reporting live in North Little Rock a few moments ago, and we saw possibly a 3.5 hour wait line in North Little Rock at one of those early voting locations. So this is going to be the norm today across Arkansas, across the area, as so many people come out to early vote. I want to point out, and I want to show you guys something because somebody was just asking about the location that they could go vote up in Maumelle, and I want to show you this photo or not our photo, but our website, because I'm going to walk you through how to find your early voting location. Okay, let's jump over to the smartboard here. This is krk.com. It's the same thing on fox16.com right now, so it's across the board. So all you have to do, it's the second story on our website right now. Click it. It'll bring you to our election page because we are your local election headquarters. We'll have the very latest on the election. We have a little bit of information from the Secretary of State's office. We have information on what to bring to the poll, to the voting booth. And to find your polling place, folks, this is where you can go right now on krk.com. It's right under this video right here. All you have to do is click here. There you go. That brings you to the Secretary of State's office. You type your name, first and last name, your date of birth. You hit look up. It brings you right to the location that you need to go to vote. It's simple as that. So this is available right now on our website, krk.com. You might be watching on your phone or your tablet, and you're like, hey, redo that. I'm trying to take notes. Let's start over. Let's go to the home page. So if, let's say, you go to krk.com, fox16.com, and you're trying to find your early voting location. You just scroll down. It's the second story on our homepage. You click it. Early voting in Arkansas begins. You click it. It brings you to the story. Gives you some information from the Secretary of State. Tells you what to bring. And right under the video, you click on your polling place, this link right here. You type in your first name, last name, it brings you to the address to where you need to go. So this page right now is so incredibly helpful on krk.com and fox16.com as we look at polling and as we look at what people need to bring to the voting locations. So if you're just joining us here, we are talking about voting location right now. We're talking about all of these long lines. I'm sure if you're just hopping on Facebook this morning, you might be looking at pictures from friends or from other agencies, news agencies, and you're looking at what everybody's talking about, and everyone's talking about these long lines that have formed at multiple polling locations across the metro. We've heard of long lines in Little Rock, North Little Rock, Sherwood, Jacksonville, Conway, Benton. It is everywhere, folks. This is going to be what you see across the city. I want to, if we can, I want to point out our crew this morning spoke with several voters who were waiting in some of those long lines, and they all had different reasons to why they were coming out to vote. And I want to play a couple of clips for you from some of these folks who have been waiting hours in some of these lines.
Jean, Jean, Romano, Romano.
Okay, so tell me, why did you feel it was so important to come out here and vote early?
Well, right now America seems so divided, and I think we all need to get out here and say our piece and make our vote count.
Do you feel safe voting during all this? You know, everyone here is 6 feet apart.
Yeah, I think everyone's been social distancing so far. I haven't gotten close enough to the poll to know how they're cleaning in between, but I feel safe, and I try to make sure I hand sanitize and do all the things I'm supposed to do.
Ken Miller, K-I-A-N, last name is Miller.
Perfect. So Ken, why are you out here so early?
I definitely wanted to get out here early just because I wanted to go ahead and get it done. I didn't want to send it in the ballot. I wanted to make sure my vote counted, so I got up here early, me and my wife, to exercise our right to vote.
That's right. You know, do you feel safe coming out here to vote?
I really do. When we rolled up, we saw a lot of people with masks. Ours looked like they're social distancing the best that they could, so I felt really safe getting out the car because we were concerned about that. But it looks good so far.
And then why is it so important for everyone to go out and vote this election cycle?
It's definitely, you have your right to vote, and you have to exercise your right to vote, and this is the best way to do it. I know we have a lot of issues, a lot of things going on that we can resolve, but it starts at the voting booth. So I wanted to do that and get that done and exercise my right to vote for my kids and for their future.
London Jones, Londonjones.
All right, Miss London, why are you out here to vote early?
I'm out here to vote early because it is important to have a voice in your community. I've been waiting to vote since I turned 18. Now I'm 19, so this is my first time, and I'm just really excited to be here.
Do you feel safe coming out here to vote, especially with Corona going around?
I feel safe. I mean, social distancing and all. As long as nobody gets too close to me, I think I'll be fine.
And then, you know, why is it so important to vote during this election cycle?
It's important because there's a lot of things going on in the world. So it's, like I said, it's important to share your voice and to let people know that you're a part of your community and that you're doing something to improve the situations that are going on in the world. So it's very important. So make sure you get out here and vote.
And you said this is your first time voting.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about, you know, just your thoughts going into it. You know, it's your first year to vote. I mean, this is a crazy election cycle, you know, with the presidential election. Tell me what your thoughts are on it.
I mean, I've been keeping up with it, so I'm really I know what's going on, so I'm happy to be here. Like I said, I think it's very important to be here, and I'm happy that I have the opportunity to do so.
Jean, Jean, Romano, Romano.
Okay, so those were some of the interviews captured this morning from our crews at some of these voting locations. Okay, I want to get to this video. It was just posted a little bit ago from our sister station up in Northwest Arkansas. This is Benton County. You're looking at this video. I'm being told that these are sanitation crews that are sanitizing some of these polling locations that are up there in Northwest Arkansas. Let's go ahead and take this full for us, for you, because it might be easier to see. But you can see right here some of these crews that are going in sanitizing the voting machines. I'm being told that this happened early this morning before polling locations opened this morning. So this was before 7 a.m. And the audio is off on this. Let me just see if we have any audio to this, because I'm sure that these machines are pretty loud. Yeah. So this was actually a video shared by Benton County officials. That's the scene up in Benton County. Okay, I want to also, because really what's very nice, at least about these live streams, folks, for those who are maybe new to our streaming content here at KRK and Fox 16, we have a room in here that we are able to see all of the feeds come in. And I'm looking at one feed right now. I wish that we could take it it looks like it's being used right now. We'll try and get to it in just a moment. But it would appear that our crew is at this voting location. If you're just joining us, Jay Burr was live earlier with us. It looks like it's his shot where you can see those long lines forming. So we'll try to get to that here in just a moment. But first, I want to just recap, if you're just joining us here, there's been a lot unfolding across Central Arkansas at multiple voting locations across the city, long lines. This is what people are seeing today. If you're heading out to early vote, you can expect that there will be some kind of line at your early voting location. In some cases, people are waiting in excess of 3.5 hours. And that is, at least in North Little Rock, there's a 2.5 hour wait. It really is interesting. But I will say this, we have to try and keep it in perspective, right? I mean, we have to remember that some of these lines may be longer because of social distancing. There's a lot of social distancing happening here. So long lines might not be completely out of the norm, but it's also probably because you have a lot of people that are practicing social distancing. Okay, I'm being told Kevin Kelly, Fox 16 anchor, just tweeted a moment ago, a long line at a voting location. Not sure where this is at. Let me go ahead. I'm going to take this full. You can see this long line at this voting location. That appears to be Little Rock. That does look like, well, yeah, folks, if you're watching the live stream and if you can tell where this is at, let me know. I think this is Little Rock. Not completely sure though, but that is a drive, I guess, a view. That might be West Little Rock. This is what Kevin tweeted just a moment ago on his Twitter account. You see that long line there at that polling location. This is what many people are seeing across the area this morning as they get out to hit the polls. Just jumping in here on Facebook, Deborah, please stop having people spell out their name. Deborah, that was raw video coming into our newsroom as it was coming in. So usually when we do interviews, we always ask for people to spell their first and last name, and that's so that way we don't spell it wrong on the title, on what, like, the graphic that you see at the bottom of your screen. So that was raw video coming in. So that's what you are watching there. Michael, okay, so this is an interesting point, and Michael, I'm glad you sent us a message here. Michael is saying, I'll be out standing in line at some point today, I guess. Being disabled isn't going to make it easy on me. Boy, you have to think this has so many ripple effects on so many different people, no matter who you are or your background or who you're voting for. There's a ripple effect. These long lines have a ripple effect. Michael sharing that with us. Michael, thank you for chiming in here as we talk a little bit with some of our folks on Facebook about what this means for them here as early voting gets underway across the state. I am being told that it looks like we might have Jay Burr coming up in just a moment on Arkansas Today. Our noon newscast is starting here in just a moment. We will attempt to take that here live when Jay gets underway, so we'll stand by for that. But some of your comments here, it looks like Deborah saying you can also look at your official sample ballot when you put in your info. Good information, Deborah. You're absolutely right. People can certainly take a look at that and they can get an idea of what's going to be on their ballot. Jay Burr standing by right now. He's standing by for a hit on Arkansas Today. He is, I believe, in North Little Rock. Let's go ahead and listen in live to his hit here. And as we take this shot, you're going to see long lines forming outside this polling location, as we know that that lines have been forming across Central Arkansas all morning long. Let's go ahead and listen in to his live report.
Yeah, Mallory, if people were trying to avoid the voting rush, well, they didn't get the memo here, as there is an onslaught here, especially in North Little Rock. We're just outside the Lehman Library. I'm going to step out of frame here so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on here. This is quite the line, and it's been like that. I actually, when I drove into the station this morning, I drove past the Lehman Library here in North Little Rock, and it was about the same even then. So some people are saying it's been about 3.5 hour wait here just to be able to vote, because this thing stretches all the way down. You see the alley here, and then out onto Pershing Boulevard. There's a sidewalk that goes down Pershing Boulevard here in North Little Rock. One woman we actually spoke with here, Amy Crawford. Ross, if I can get you to zoom in where she's at right now. We actually talked to her, and it was about an hour and a half ago. She was actually the last person in line at the time, and as you saw just from my photographer Ross here just panning around, there's been a few people who walked in behind her as well, and this is no stranger to the situation, as all over Pulaski County, even we're hearing reports in Lone Oak and Saline County, we're seeing things similar to this. Now, maybe not quite a 3.5 hour wait, but it's very similar. In fact, but there's excitement in the air about this election. There is a seriousness, and when we talked with Ms. Crawford, she even mentioned that same thing. She was excited to see this many people out, regardless of what their political affiliation is. She's excited to see this many people out here voting. In fact, like I said earlier this morning, out at the Roosevelt Thompson Library here in Little Rock, we actually talked with one first-time voter who had that exact same excitement.
Okay, so they're going to go ahead reset with viewers that are watching on TV. Jay Bird live up there in North Little Rock, Sherwood area. He's going to reset for folks watching on TV as we continue our live stream here on KRK.com and Fox16.com. The video you're looking at right now is video tweeted by Fox 16 anchor Kevin Kelly just a few moments ago. This appears to be the West Little Rock area. For folks that are watching, you might be able to help me out on an exact location, but this is what people are seeing out there in West Little Rock. If you're just joining us here, I want to go ahead and reset for you what we are watching today and what we are able to provide to you, our viewer, as we get early voting underway here in Central Arkansas. We've been on here now just for a little bit talking about early voting. The video that you're looking on the right-hand side of your screen is video that our crews captured earlier this morning. Long lines across the area. And it's not just Little Rock. It's Little Rock, North Little Rock, Sherwood, Jacksonville, Benton, Conway. We're hearing reports of long lines in Lone Oak and Saline counties as well. I want to show you something before we wrap up here, and it's just for viewers that are just joining us here this morning, and it's how you can learn or how you can find your voting location. And we've made it very easy on our website, krk.com. Let me go ahead, let me show you how to do that. We're going to go over to the smart board right now, and this is the technology that we have to show you in an interactive way how to find your voting location. We're seeing comments on line right now asking where can I go early vote? Where is my voting location? Right here at krk.com, it is the second story on our homepage. You click that second story, you scroll down, you go right below the video. Here's the voting, and it says why voting is important. Scroll down, find your polling place, click here. This gives you a pretty good idea of where to go. We're even learning that you can even look at one of your early or sample ballots. So this tool is so incredibly vital and important for people if, let's say, you don't know where your early voting location or your polling location is. So that's available right now on krk.com. We appreciate you watching. We want to remind you that KRK4 and Fox 16, we are your local election headquarters. We will be here every step of the way, especially over the next couple of weeks. You know, it's important to know that now that early voting is underway, this is not done. We have now just a little over 2 weeks before Election Day. We will be here every step of the way. We will have live streams as they're warranted right here on Facebook, on krk.com, and on Fox16.com as well. So, krk.com, Fox16.com, your local election headquarters. We also want to remind you to download our smartphone apps. We will push updates related to the election right to your smartphone. You can download it right now in the in your smartphone store. So it might be Apple, it might be Google Play, the App Store, things like that. So I encourage you to download it right now so that way you don't miss any important updates related to the election from your local election headquarters. But for now, I'm Mitch McCoy. We have breaking news all day long right here on the device that you're watching. Until then, have a good afternoon.